Good afternoon. It's 4:22 p.m. and I want to look at some more of Dr. Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project, what he is sharing with the public concerning, UFOs and strange occurrences and the hiding of information, the hiding of the types of beings, extraterrestrials, aliens, all the strange occurrences that are happening, where some of the hidden money is going. And this one right here, it starts off with the Lockheed Martin RCS range underground entrance. And what on earth is that underground entrance for? It looks pretty high tech. It looks pretty out of this world. It really does. And I think he's very brave. He really is, to get up there and do something like this, you all, because it does take courage. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the field. It takes courage to stand before people and get up there and speak. It would take a lot of courage for me. See, I can sit on here and I can do this, but in front of a group of people, it might be a different subject matter. I mean, it might be a different thing, but you never know. If you're called to do something, you're going to have the courage. You are. So this is I'm really interested in seeing what else he had to say, and I'm not going to watch the stuff unless you're all able to watch it with me, which is great. We can watch it and find out together is what we can do, and I hope you all can hear me. Hello there, Masa Katani. Love you too, Ruthie. That's a good That's a good question, Ruthie, honey. It's a really good question. Hello, Sugar Bee, Sue S. Simon. Evolving, Sylvia, Lori Borden, Frank Cooper, honey. Hello, Mickey Martin. Great Awakening team. Hello. Alrighty, you all. So I want to go over there. I really do. I'm going to turn this down. I hope that the sound is going to be okay, because we really need to. I want to know what he has to say, because really it took probably a long time to put this together, and it's a far better presentation than what we got from the government. Okay, it is. At least he's got eyewitnesses, and at least he's showing things. Now, we do know that if there was things that he was not supposed to show, he would not be showing it. They wouldn't let it out. Okay, so somehow the okay has been given to give this. That's right, we got it. Gain for all news. There's always misinformation out there, and there's always misinformation informants to say, that there is misinformation. But guess what we do here? We like to look at all angles and all information and let the individuals decide for themselves. That's the best thing to do, except if it's really, really not good. I'm not going to show it, but this case right here, this is public and it's really widespread, so we need to know what they're saying. It's important. It is. And there may be some that feel, oh, it's nothing to listen to. Well, I feel it's important, so I'm going to share it on the YouTube channel. I do. Hello, Angel Mist. Yeah. Gain for all news. Do you like this YouTube channel? Do you like the presentation that's on here? I'm just curious. Do you like it? Because a lot of people like it. They do like it. They love it. Yes, we rebuke that darkness. Hello, Michael Marcello. Well, sorry, y'all. What did you do, Gina? I just push that button. That's right. I can feel energy, and I don't play with the darkness. Okay, the darkness don't play with me, because I'm not going to play back. Okay, I'm not. We got it. Boom, we got it, you all. I'm going to come over here and look at this. I do. Thank you all for joining. Yeah, we're going to look at this. I'm going to kind of, if I could do this would be great. If I could we can just do this. We can just watch it from over here on this screen right here. Yes. Let's look at this.
A large number of the UAPs are in fact deep black budget electrogravitic, electromagnetic field propulsion devices based on the small private plane threat to the national security. So here is your list. I'm not going to go through 145 sites. Some of them are black sites. Some of them are bases you know about, like Wright-Patterson, Edwards, Nellis, Area 51, so-called. But all of them are based on witness testimony and intelligence we've gathered over the last 30 years. And it's time for it to be disclosed. And so now you have it. Next. Here's one. And people go out in the Mojave Desert. Michael Schratt took this picture when it was okay to fly near it in a small private plane. It is the site for the Lockheed Range underground entrance. What's in there? Well, there are man-made, and this is the big story, no one's telling you. A large number of the UAPs are in fact deep black budget electrogravitic, electromagnetic field propulsion devices based on the study of extraterrestrial vehicles that began in the 1940s. That is a fact, and we can prove it. So when you see these sort of places, just remember, many of them, I want to be careful what I'm saying here. Someone who is in charge of the black budget of the United States in 2022 went out to the Lockheed Skunk Works based on some information he had. He was shown a bunch of old jet aircraft. He knew he was being gaslit. And they reached out to me and I said, what do you want? I'll give you everything we have. And that's what's happened over the last 16 months. So I cannot name this person, but they're a wonderful person of enormous integrity and a hero of our country. So I want to just go through quickly some of the new ones who aren't here. Now, the reason these have initials, they're waiting to be cleared for coming forward publicly. They're afraid. Let me explain to you why they are. This man, here's just his incoming letter. We get these every day. Now, he's afraid he'll lose his pension. He signed an 80-year non-disclosure agreement.
That's
he has
a long
been
time.
threatened, and some of these have seriously had their lives threatened. It's a very thuggish situation going on that the Department of Justice and FBI need to drill down on very quickly. Next. Here's an illustration of one event that he was involved in back when there was a extraterrestrial vehicle that crashed and then ultimately ended up at Lawton, Oklahoma, near Fort Sill. This man has been in a skiff with these objects. These illustrations are based on his direct testimony and hours of discussions since 2016. Here is a small extraterrestrial body, about 39 inches long, that was retrieved in that operation. There are extraterrestrials of very...
So that's really interesting, you all. You can see laying there in that stretcher, this is like eyewitness news of what they recovered. That does not look like a human being in this stretcher if you are looking at it at all. And this really does look like, wow, super black budget. Are these the small grays? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all see the being in there? Let me take a screenshot. Let me put it back to me. I want to know if you can see the being in there. I don't want to mess it up. This is the being. It looks like a small gray. And then if you look in the tent, there looks like there's probably another one over there on a table. Well, Desiree Honey, this is an artist's rendition of what it would have possibly looked like. It's good to have a visual when you're explaining something. Of course, this is not a real photo. This is a generated one based on how it was described the things occurred. That's okay, Desiree Honey. You got this. You have got it. You do. That's right. So we got this being right here on the stretcher. Let's hear what else he has to say because it's really interesting. I love it. I do love it.
Various sizes. The last known count I had of different civilizations involved with this, about 60 to 70 in that range, and I think there could be more. Next. This is one of the underground command centers that he was assigned to from the Pentagon. He was with Technical Management Office and then some other offices. and investigated some criminal activities that occurred with a 3-star general related to this subject that the Department of Justice was basically unable to prosecute because they were denied access to the operations. Next. Here's one that was also in this another facility as an extraterrestrial vehicle. He actually was there very close to it. This gentleman wants to come forward. He needs to be protected, and this is why we're calling for explicit witness protection and explicit pension and asset protection for these whistleblowers. Next. And this is just an indication of a type of electromagnetic system that actually can cloak any tank or any object that we've developed over the years, and he was read into this as well. Next.
There's one simple hearing hack anyone can use to improve their...
Well, I don't want to hear that hearing hack. Let me do this. Hopefully you all can't hear it either. Let's wait to... Okay, let's put it back. Okay, we back into business. We did a video on Las Vegas last week. Everybody else is talking about it now. Now we're talking about the groundbreaking project disclosure right here because it's really interesting. This is the newest news.
Very quickly. We'd be here for read into this as well. Next. So there's another gentleman.
Hello,
I'm going to run through these very quickly. We'd be here for 30 hours if I didn't. I'm just giving you a tip of the iceberg, right? This is a guy who is at the Dugway Proving Grounds, very key facility, MS we call him. He worked for C. Martin Corporation, a contractor, and he was in a facility that had an extraterrestrial vehicle that was being studied by scientists. He knows the chief scientist involved. He has named that individual to us, and they can all be subpoenaed now. So this object was there in 2009. He didn't know the date of acquisition, but he thought it was fairly recent. Next. He also was read into and had the chief scientist show him the location, which we now have, of a DUM, deep underground military base, that is in the Dugway sector, the so-called Avery sector, A-V-E-R-Y, and it has huge capacity for parking. You go in, and there's a vast underground complex.
Wow,
location.
airplanes.
That location has been handed off to investigators with the U.S. government. Next. This gives an illustration of the size of this. You could put easily on the platform that goes down the Air Force One. It's a very large elevator, goes down underground. Next. And then we have this gentleman. He was not long ago in the Nellis Range in the Nevada test site north of Nellis Air Force Base, and he next slide, was on a retrieval team. Now let me explain how this guy got involved. He was recruited out of Fort Campbell to be somebody to be on a retrieval team with a top secret clearance to pick up when we have an accident with a helicopter or jet, because there's classified technology on those often. And our YouTube pilot here will explain that perhaps. But the point is, he went from there, and that was preparatory to being on a retrieval team for this. So he was involved with this operation. It was a man-made, a so-called alien reproduction vehicle, is called by some people, or AT. A lot of people just call them advanced technology. It's a euphemism. But it's based on studying the electrogravitics and magnetic field propulsion systems of the interstellar vehicles that involve the science of quantum entanglement and, basically you want to go from one point in space and to another, say this is one point, this is another. You're not going through a straight line, you're folding space-time. That's how you do it. And we're not going to do a physics lesson here. Had enough of that in pre-med. But anyway, so this is an object, and I'm not a physicist, we have a physicist here. But this object was retrieved because it became disabled. Some of these retrieval operations are not extraterrestrial, but they would like sometimes the public to think maybe it was, because the bigger secret, I'll tell you right now, is not the extraterrestrial issue. It's these technologies, which an unsupervised and frankly illegal operation have, which is a threat to the national security.
Yes.
Period. This we will prove. And this is a bigger threat, the existence of these in the hands of unsupervised operations, that have escaped the oversight of the President of the Office of the President and the Congress since 1956 to 1960.
Long
Hence
time.
Eisenhower's speech, beware the military-industrial complex. This is actually what he was talking about. I know people who have since passed away, like our witness, Stephen Lubkin, who was at the White House with Eisenhower, who said point blank, the president lost control of these projects and that he was very upset and angry about it, but these projects became so compartmentalized that he no longer could control them. So this is one. You can see there are rivets and what have you. And we'll go through this later after our fine gentlemen and whistleblowers speak. But I want to give you this overview really quickly. Next. So this is actually an extraterrestrial vehicle, a very large one that was at the Nellis North Range. We have the location of the helipad. It's Delta Force manned. This occurred back in that same era, around 2009, about 65 feet across. It's seamless, but it has sort of a clamshell part of it. There was a ramp that rolled out, like he said, like a roll-up that came out of it. And there was a ARV above it that was headed in lock. It was an electromagnetic lock on this object. I think it was stunned, and that's how it was brought down. This is not infrequent. Not every day, but not infrequent. I said over the last 80 years, at least 122 have come down. So there are helicopters. He was on the team to pick up debris. This one was, of course, intact. It began to pulse and operate and came back to life, as it were. And the entire group that was there basically were put in some kind of a stasis electromagnetically.
Wow.
Sounds like science fiction, teleported back to the helipad instantly. But before that happened, he had this meeting with two of these extraterrestrial biological entities, a male and a female, and this is a very accurate, according to the whistleblower, who needs to come forward when there's adult protection.
That's right.
They had no pinna, the ears outside, and had no hair, and there was a male and a female, and it was made very clear to him by these beings that they were completely non-hostile. All extraterrestrial civilizations are non-hostile. If they were hostile, the technologies they have would have been made quite clear to us in August of 1945. We'll get to this in a moment. So this, later he had an event when he tried to leave that command where there was a fake, what's called a programmed life form alien. These have been used in what you hear in the fabled lore of abductions and stuff in the UFO lore. This is actually a man-made creature, but it's not living per se. It has a covering that's skin-like. It tried to take him with one of these ARVs in command, and some people camouflaged in the ground near his truck after he got out of this command. He was disgusted with what was happening. He no longer wanted to be part of that project, but they weren't happy he left. I told him, it's a miracle that you lived to tell this tale. And so what happened is that his pickup truck went into sort of complete lock, motor died because of this man-made UAP. He opened the door because he saw this creature, which he thought was an alien. It's not. And he hit it, it fell, he kicked it, and it split open this outer, and he saw the integrated circuits and fiber optics and what have you. This man I've dealt with quite a bit. He was ready to come to the aero skiff. He had a nasty encounter with people who threatened him directly. This is recent. And so we have not been able to bring him to the Aero Pentagon briefing. Next. And this is one that came in 2009. We had a witness SL. We call him Coast Guard, and this is his incoming letter to me, the redacted information. And then he told us about an event off of Guam where his Coast Guard ship, which is a buoy servicing vehicle out there, was called in on a mutual assist, and he got there, and you'll see on the next picture, there was an extraterrestrial vehicle that we had downed but got lost in the deep waters there in the Marianas Trench, and it had gotten caught and tangled up in, oddly, a fisherman net from Japan, a trawler, big one, big trawler. And so they were called in to retrieve this. He went and did retrieve it. He was part of the crew that most of them went down quarters, but with blacked out windows, he was there above ground, took a very sharp object to try to scratch it, impenetrable, could not scratch it, could not penetrate it. These are very advanced metallurgy, nanomolecular material, interstellar vehicles. Next. So what's going on with this? All of you have seen over the last 4 or 5 years these footage come out, and the Pentagon's confirmed are three-dimensional objects with sensors and what have you, the so-called Tic Tac and others. Now, I've spoken to one of the pilots who chased these objects. You've seen it on CNN, 60 Minutes, all these places. What hasn't been told when this event happened in the early 2000s is that these objects, which you'll see in a moment, particularly one of them, we have matching top secret witness testimony of them being a man-made object that our jet pilots and military don't know exists. This is dangerous in terms of deconflicting operations. So let's go to the next and play this.
Most people have no clue that in 2023.
We'll go past this, you all. If you're just tuning in, this is another segment of Dr. Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project that he did. And I think it's wonderful. I really do, because it takes courage to get up here.
What hasn't been told when this event happened in the early 2000s is that these objects, which you'll see in a moment, particularly one of them, we have matching top secret witness testimony of them being a man-made object that our jet pilots and military don't know exists. This is dangerous in terms of deconflicting operations. So let's go to the next and play this.
Dude, that is a fucking drone, bro. There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, dude. Well, if there's like... Look at that thing. It's rotated.
This is the so-called Tic Tac now.
Nickel 61 Tango Project. Roger.
Now, of course, this has been called an unknown UAP, what have you. We can excuse the Pentagon and most of the military and the White House and the Congress for not knowing what this is, because the operations that have been building these are deep black illegal, and they are not disclosing it properly to the authorities in our constitutional democracy and republic. This is based on a sighting of a group of people. Is basically the same object in the 1960s, 1967. Let's go to the next slide. And it's sort of a sketch here, the so-called vintage steam boiler. These have been seen in multiple places around since the 1950s and 60s. Next. Here's one that's a very good color illustration of it. Notice the probes on it. Extraterrestrial vehicles do not have those. These electrostatic discharge objects. We're not going to get into all the physics of this. Our team understands it, and we're welcome to share that in a longer brief with media folks. And here's the 2004 off the coast of San Diego Tic Tac. It's fundamentally the same object. Next. And here it is. We have a top secret whistleblower came forward a few months ago in 1991, so now we're talking quite some time ago, way before the 2004 event, that is offloading off a C-130, one of these UAPs, but it's actually a man-made one, and here you have the color illustration. This man is very afraid to come forward. He was warned not to, and at one point was told he would be, quote, executed. Next. So here's what we need to go through very quickly. It's a lot to unpack. This is not intended to be,
This is where he's going to go through the whistleblower testimonies, and you can see right here, and that's a little bit long right there, so I'm not going to show much of it because yeah. And some of those things you all see in. Look, well, here's what happened. It says an extremely secret organization. You all, this is important. Now look at this right here. Number one, two primary types of UAPs: extraterrestrial vehicles, man-made ARVs, or electrographic propulsions vehicles. Number two, extraterrestrial groups are not hostile to Earth or humanity. However, there are increasingly concerned about human hostility and weapon systems, nuclear, scalar, etc. Now, there may be some that disagree with that, because there could be, very well are, some groups that are hostile toward humanity, that does not like humanity. You could call them extraterrestrial beings. You could call them demons. One thing's for certain, humanity is under attack. Well, that's just my personal opinion. It really is. Extraterrestrial technology has been studied and reverse engineered, leading to breakthroughs in energy and propulsion. This is pretty interesting right here. The number four, an extremely secret organization has been running these projects without legal constitutional government oversight since the late 1950s. They hijacked it. These illegal projects constitute a grave threat to national security and world security and peace. Key members of the U.S. Government Oversight Committee have been denied access to these projects, which is a crisis that we're working to resolve. I'm reading this, you all. I'm going to read it because he might take too long talking about it, so let me do this. Let's go back here. The technologies held by the unsanctioned illegal operation would immediately solve the world's energy environmental poverty crisis. These organizations have also been targeting and on occasion successfully downed ET vehicles. This covert group has technology to launch a convincing false flag operation detrimental to national security. So these groups, the group that has been taken over with the black projects, he's saying it's a covert group that has the technology to launch a convincing false flag operation detrimental to national security. And these actions pose an immediate and grave threat to world security and need to be reined in immediately. There are crimes against humanity worldwide. They need to be referred to an international court for crimes committed by illegal covert projects. And we applaud the current actions by the U.S. Congress to investigate the UAP matter. Let me read the rest of this, you all, because there really is stuff going on, and it's not very nice. Mr. Greer, Stephen Greer, honey. So here's what he liked this. Look at this, you all. Legal intelligence. Chief characteristics of illegal secret government ISG UFO projects. Here's some characteristics of it. Legal intelligence and military are the victims. Similar operations parallel to the U.S. projects exist in many, if not most, other countries. The ISG operates without acknowledging any national boundaries. They use blackmail, bribery, and intimidation in operational core of ISG, you all. So they took, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter, so help me God. Thank you. So this is Dr. Stephen Greer. And this is part of his disclosure right there, you all. And he spoke about the underground things of Lockheed Martin. Yeah. And he's very nervous. He's nervous. I'd be really nervous too. I would. Because there are some players who are bigger than he is. Yeah. But it was very, very interesting, you all. So, Yes, that's right. That oath. When you enlist into the military, you have to say it. And other things that you are a part of, you say it. You do. Do I have a problem with it? No, I don't have a problem with it. I don't. But I'm going to go, you all. It's really interesting what he had to say. And there is all this strange things out there. And there are unidentified flying objects that are man-made, but it's from ultra secret black budget, a group of something that has been working outside any regulation at all, any oversight. It's like they are above the law of the earth, more or less. So I'm going to go, and I look forward to sharing more of his stuff. I do. And with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. And hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello, from my heart to yours. Love you. Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Please give this video a thumbs up. I will put this video right here in the podcast on this channel. It's a playlist. It's a podcast. It's a story time with Gina. Even though I do a story time every night at 8:30, this is going in the story time with Gina. That way it will be in a thing, because it's kind of like a story, but it's real. It's real life. So have a wonderful evening, you all. Thank you.